the devil, Ibilis, and the Nafs. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sufi Essence with Hamad Syed. In the grand tapestry of spiritual traditions, the figure of the devil often looms large, a symbol of absolute evil and rebellion. In Islam, this entity is known as Iblis, or Shaitan, the devil. But his story is far more complex than a simple tale of good versus evil. It's a profound narrative about pride, free will, and the very nature of humanity's internal struggle. Today, we are going to delve deep into the Islamic tradition to understand not just the devil, but also our own inner landscape, a concept known as the Nafs. We will explore the cosmic drama of Iblis's fall, the battlefield of the human soul, and the esoteric perspectives that see this story in a radically different light. This isn't just a story about a fallen being. It's a mirror reflecting our own greatest vulnerabilities and our highest potential. Let's begin with the moment that changed everything, the fall of Iblis. Who was he before this pivotal event? The Quran presents a nuanced picture. Some verses describe him as being from among the jinn, a race of beings created from smokeless fire, who, like humans, possess free will. For instance, in Surah Al-Kahf, it states, "He was one of the jinn and disobeyed the command of his Lord." Yet, other contexts place him in the company of angels. Many scholars reconcile this by explaining that Iblis was a jinn of such piety and devotion that he was elevated to worship alongside the angels in the heavens. He was known for his knowledge and righteousness, a radiant figure among the celestial assembly. Then came the test. Allah created Adam, the first human, from clay. He fashioned him with his own hands and breathed into him from his spirit, honoring humanity with a unique station. Then, a command was issued to all those present in the heavens, angels and Iblis alike: prostrate to Adam. The angels, who have no free will to disobey, immediately complied. But Iblis refused. This refusal wasn't a silent act of defiance. It was followed by a dialogue with God himself, a moment captured in the Quran that reveals the core of his downfall. When Allah asked, "What prevented you from prostrating when I commanded you?" Iblis responded with a justification rooted in arrogance. He said, "I am better than him. You created me from fire, and him you created from clay." This was the first instance of racism, of judging worth based on origin rather than obedience and character. He saw the fire of his own being as inherently superior to the humble earth from which Adam was formed. This pride, this kibr, blinded him to the wisdom behind God's command. Because of this rebellion born of arrogance, he was cast out. His name became Iblis, which is derived from a root word meaning he who despairs or is deprived of mercy. Cursed and condemned, Iblis made one final request. He asked for a respite, a delay in his punishment until the day of judgment. Allah granted him this. And with this granted time, Iblis made a chilling vow. He promised to dedicate his existence to misleading the children of Adam. He declared, "Because you have put me in error, I will surely sit and wait for them on your straight path. Then I will come to them from before them and from behind them and on their right and on their left, and you will not find most of them grateful." He became Shaitan, the adversary, the whisperer, whose goal is to exploit our weaknesses and lead us astray. But notice, he acknowledged he can only tempt those who are not truly grateful or sincere. He has no power over God's devoted servants. This brings us to the battlefield where this spiritual war is waged. It's not a place of fire and brimstone, but a space within each and every one of us. This is the realm of the Nafs. The word Nafs is often translated as self, ego, or psyche. It's the seat of our consciousness, our desires, our appetites, and our ego. To understand it, it's helpful to contrast it with two other concepts. There's the Ra, the pure, divine spirit breathed into us by Allah. It is our connection to the transcendent, always yearning for its source. Then there's the Kalb, the heart, which is not just the physical organ but the spiritual center that can turn towards the Ra or be overtaken by the Nafs. The Nafs, in essence, is the part of us that is tied to this worldly existence and its temptations. Islamic psychology and spirituality, particularly within Sufism, outlines a detailed map of the Nafs's development through several stages. The lowest and most primal stage is the Nafs al-Amara, the commanding soul. This is the self at its most unrestrained, the part of us that incites evil and succumbs to base desires without remorse. It is driven by raw impulses, greed for wealth, lust for physical pleasure, envy of others, uncontrolled anger, and overwhelming pride. This is the primary entry point for Shaitan. He doesn't need to shout. He simply whispers suggestions that the Nafs al-Amara is already inclined to follow. He fans the flames of our existing desires, making the forbidden seem beautiful and rationalizing our worst impulses. But most people who believe in a higher purpose don't remain in that state. They move to the second stage, the Nafs al-Lawama, the self-reproaching soul. This is the state of the awakened conscience. A person at this stage might sin, but they feel immediate guilt and regret. They blame themselves, they repent, and they strive to be better. This is the soul in constant struggle. It's a cycle of falling down and getting back up, of sinning and repenting. The Quran itself honors this stage, with God swearing an oath by it. This internal battle, this feeling of remorse, is a sign of a living faith. It signifies that the heart is still sensitive to the light of the Ra and is fighting against the pull of its lower desires. It's a turbulent but necessary stage on the path to purification. If the struggle is successful, one can ascend to the Nafs al-Mutmarina, the tranquil soul. This is a state of deep peace, contentment, and certainty. The soul is no longer at war with itself. It has found rest and satisfaction in the remembrance of God. Desires are tamed, the ego is controlled, and the heart is securely anchored in faith. This is the soul that is addressed in the famous verses of Surah al-Fajr. O tranquil soul, return to your Lord, well pleased and pleasing to him, and enter among my righteous servants, and enter my paradise. Sufi traditions, which focus intensely on this inner journey, describe even higher stages. Beyond the tranquil soul, they speak of the Nafs al-Mulhama, the inspired soul, where one begins to receive direct divine inspiration. Then comes the Nafs al-Radiya, the pleased soul, which is not just at peace but is genuinely pleased with whatever God decrees. Following that is the Nafs al-Madiyya, the pleasing soul, a state where one's character and actions have become so refined that they are pleasing to God. Finally, the highest stage is the Nafs al-Kamila, the perfect or completed soul. This is the soul of the prophets and the greatest saints, fully actualized and existing in a state of perfect harmony and servitude to the divine. This journey through the stages of the Nafs is the essence of what is known in a famous prophetic tradition as the Jihad al-Akbar, the greater struggle. The Prophet Muhammad, upon returning from a military battle, is reported to have said, "We have returned from the lesser struggle to the greater struggle." When his companions asked what the greater struggle was, he replied, "The struggle against the self, against the Nafs." This internal jihad is considered more difficult and more important than any external conflict. So how does one engage in this struggle? Islamic tradition provides a comprehensive toolkit. The first and most powerful tool is dhikr, the remembrance of God. This involves repeating divine names and praises, which polishes the heart and keeps the connection to the Ra strong, starving the Nafs of its power. Then there is fikr, or contemplation, thinking deeply about creation, about one's own mortality, and about the signs of God in the universe. This fosters humility and awe. The 5 daily prayers, salah, are a structured and regular discipline that interrupts worldly pursuits and reorients the soul towards God. Saum, or fasting, particularly during Ramadan, is a direct training ground for mastering the Nafs, teaching self-control over the most basic physical urges for food, drink, and intimacy. And finally, seeking sacred knowledge is crucial, as it illuminates the path, clarifies right from wrong, and provides the guidance necessary to navigate the complexities of the soul. Now, let's turn to a more complex and controversial corner of Islamic thought, the Sufi perspective on Iblis himself. While mainstream Islam views Iblis as a symbol of arrogance and disobedience, some mystics and Sufis have dared to interpret his story differently. They don't see him as a champion of evil, but as a tragic figure, a lover whose love was so absolute it led to his own damnation. Figures like the famous 10th century mystic al-Halai, who was executed for his ecstatic and seemingly blasphemous utterances, presented a shocking view of Iblis. Al-Halai argued that Iblis's refusal to bow to Adam was the ultimate act of tawhid, or monotheism. The argument is subtle and profound. Iblis, in this view, was so consumed by his love and adoration for the one God that he could not bring himself to prostrate before anyone or anything else, not even when God himself commanded it. From this perspective, the command to bow to Adam was a test of love. The other angels obeyed the command, but Iblis obeyed the primordial will of the beloved, which is to be worshipped alone. He chose the curse of God over diluting his adoration. He became, in this tragic view, the ultimate monotheist, a lover eternally separated from his beloved because of the intensity of his own love. This leads to a fascinating theological debate on the nature of disbelief. The mainstream, orthodox view is unequivocal. Iblis's act was one of supreme arrogance, or kibr. By questioning God's wisdom and openly disobeying a clear command, he was challenging God's authority. This act of placing his own reasoning and judgment above God's decree is a form of kufr, or disbelief. It's a rejection of the fundamental principle of Islam, which is submission to the divine will. His claim of being better than Adam exposed a disease in his heart that negated his eons of worship. However, the alternative view, explored by mystics and some philosophers, makes a different distinction. They argue that while Iblis was disobedient, he never committed shirk, the one unforgivable sin in Islam, which is associating partners with God. In his dialogue with God, Iblis never denies God's oneness or power. In fact, his entire argument, twisted as it is addressed directly to God. He affirms God as his creator and the creator of Adam. His sin was disobedience, not polytheism. This view doesn't exonerate Iblis, but it reframes his fall as a complex tragedy of love and pride, rather than a simple rebellion of evil against good. It is absolutely crucial to add a disclaimer here. These Sufi interpretations of Iblis as a tragic monotheist are highly esoteric, minority views within the vast spectrum of Islamic thought. The overwhelming majority of mainstream Sunni and Shia scholars consider these ideas to be dangerous, misleading, and in some cases, heretical. For the Orthodox tradition, Iblis remains the clear adversary, the epitome of pride, and a warning to all of humanity. But the existence of these alternative views highlights the incredible intellectual and spiritual depth within Islam, where even the figure of the devil can become a subject of profound metaphysical contemplation. So what can we take away from this intricate story? The narrative of Iblis and the Nafs is not just ancient theology, it's a living map for our own spiritual journey. The ultimate battle is not with some external, horned creature. The battle is internal. The Nafs, our own self, is the battlefield. Our pride, our envy, our greed, and our anger are the enemy's entry points. Iblis is the external tempter, the whisperer who exploits the weaknesses we fail to control within ourselves. He has no power to force us. He can only suggest and entice. The choice to follow or to resist is always ours. The story reminds us that our greatest enemy is our own unchecked ego, the same kibr or arrogance that caused the fall of the most devoted worshipper. But it also gives us hope. It shows us that through self-awareness, through remembrance, through discipline and struggle, we can transform our commanding soul into a soul at peace. The journey of spiritual purification is the journey of a lifetime. It is the greater struggle, and it is the very purpose for which we were created: to know ourselves, to master ourselves, and in doing so, to draw closer to the divine. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. If you found this exploration meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that delves into the heart of spiritual traditions. See you next time.